Well, hello, my wonderful office workplace warriors, and welcome back to another episode of Dear HR Diary by Manage with Heart, the unfiltered truth you wish they taught you in management school. And as my listeners say, I still wish they would teach it. Like they should have a class on this stuff, like multiple classes on this stuff. But today I am so excited. I have a guest on the pod. And so, little side note, I actually got the opportunity to be a speaker on a panel for the Women in Technology kind of symposium out here in Oklahoma City. And I saw this fabulous lady. She also was on a panel. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to have her on the podcast. First of all, she has the coolest name ever. Her name is Thompson Dickerson. That is so cool. I love that name. So yeah, Dawn Hart. Mine's kind of boring, but anyway, super excited a little bit about Thompson. She is an enthusiastic leader in the tech industry, known for her non-traditional technical background that provides a unique perspective on problem solving and innovation. She has a passion for fostering authenticity and collaboration. Thompson aims to educate and empower individuals to fulfill their goals while cultivating a supportive community. And who in their right mind would not want that? Her commitment to service is evident through her work as a member of the Advocacy Corps, where she engaged in grassroots lobbying. I always think of a lawnmower when I think of grassroots. Like, I get it,
Yeah,
but it
you
still
do.
makes me laugh. And organizing on national legislation. Ooh, even super cooler. Additionally, Thompson dedicated 2 years to teaching at a Title I school, which deepened her understanding of community needs and the importance of education in empowering individuals. And if you're not familiar with the Title I school, I'll have Thompson tell you what it is because not everybody knows about Title I schools. The value of building community within Oklahoma. Yes, it's an Oklahoman, is particularly significant to her as she believes strong, interconnected networks are essential for collective growth and success. That's the reason that I had her on the show. She has some great academic achievements, including a master's degree in public administration and leadership, as well as graduation from the University of Oklahoma, also my alma mater. She also attended biblical counseling school. Hmm, that's this could be interesting, which further shaped her compassionate approach to leadership and community engagement. As a proud member of the Good Samaritan Society with the Neighborhood Services Organization, Thompson is dedicated to helping others and building them to achieve their dreams. This is pretty cool. Okay, so outside of her really long list of accomplishments, she enjoys traveling, graphic design, and spending quality time with her partner Kyle, their two dogs and two cats. Big like her fur babies. She's deeply passionate about self development, improvement, utilizing feedback, mentorship, and the diversity of thought to continually grow and inspire those around her. We are super excited to welcome you to the show, Thompson. Yay! Welcome, welcome.
Excited to be here.
Okay, so I met you at the Women in Technology, which is kind of cool because sometimes people are like, women in technology. And we got to kind of like briefly get to know each other. And then we had a fun discovery call and really got to know Thompson. She kind of has a really unique eye when it comes to being a woman in tech, and her approach to the importance of it has been amazing. So I just want to give a cool kind of a cool shout out there because the Women in Technology group is getting larger, I hope,
Yeah.
and really trying to get more women, girls, young ladies interested in STEM, I think is also really cool. So I want to go back to your bio real quickly. Tell me what a Title I school is.
So kind of like best way I can describe it, which might not be like the definition, but Title I school, the school that I taught at, where like 90% of the population was below the poverty line.
Mm-hmm.
So like that school is funded where they have free lunch. Also, some of the things that come with those schools, a lot of times the education like system isn't as advanced. Like they, depending on where they are, I was in rural Oklahoma, and so like people wanting to go out there and teach there. A lot of the teachers are people who have gone there like as students and like helping cultivate those things so they can be of have several disadvantages that like a normal school would have. So not only are the population impoverished, but they also, I had the opportunity as an Indigenous woman to go to a population that was also predominantly Indigenous. So that was cool as
Whoa.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
like
pretty
the
neat.
dynamics are just basically a school that doesn't doesn't have the best of the best, and they're often, set with several setbacks.
Yeah. So you had to be resourceful. You had to like really be resourceful in this. Okay, so I met Thompson and she was talking about the importance of mentorship, and then it kind of rolled into feedback. And so she's got some great ideas on that. So we're going to spend a little bit of time kind of talking about both because I think it's very helpful if you are either getting into the workplace or maybe you're changing careers or maybe you just feel like you're stuck and you don't know what the next part of your life should look like. And really kind of thinking, what do I do next? And I think there's a lot of people, particularly Gen Z and millennials, that are really, really looking for that. So, talk to me about mentorship and obviously the importance of it.
So I personally don't think I'd be where I am today without mentorship. I view mentorship as each individual has a specific set of like skills. Like we all have our strengths. That's why there's like personality quizzes. In the workplace, they use things like the Myers-Briggs, your Clifton like strength, uh, using those to help kind of figure you out, put you in good placements, so on and so forth. Um, but because we all have our own strength, it also means that everyone's approach is going to be different. And also, like one of the big things with like Clifton Strengths Finders is like you play to your strengths, you don't let your strengths be weaknesses. And that was something that I feel like I even struggled with as like a young girl, is like, these are my strengths. They're not bad,
Right.
but like you don't let your strengths be weaknesses. And so all mentorship really is to me, if you like boiled it down real simply, is creating a relationship and a bond with someone in which you can have authentic communication and you can build trust, someone who's going to be able to kind of shape you and guide you. And on your personalized journey, it's not like a one size fits all, do this.
Mhm.
It's someone really knowing you and wants what's best for you and being able to kind of guide you, give you feedback, encourage you, challenge you. And I think at the baseline of any sort of mentorship, that's what mentorship really is.
Absolutely. I thought like, okay, I'm a Gen Xer, so I'm old. So I'm like, I don't need any help, right? I'm like, I got this. But when I got into HR, which is even really kind of funny how I got into HR, I had a degree in marketing. And so I had no idea, first of all, what I was doing. In fact, today, 30 years later, I probably still don't, but that's okay. It's still a learning process. What's great though is there is this lady, her name is Amy, and Amy was my boss. And she actually wasn't there. She was there for about a year, and she really essentially trained me on how to do the HR piece of it, right? Like how to do payroll and how to do all the fun stuff like benefits. But what was great about Amy is she always took this really unique approach to employee relations. And when she left, I asked her, I said, hey, would you be somebody I can bounce some ideas off of? And at the time, I did not know it was called a mentor. And I'm like, I just figured she'd be somebody I could call up if I had, issues and needed help. But through time, she really became this very intuitive, like almost knew what I needed help with before I knew it, because we would spend time really just kind of getting to know each other on a different level. And so I think people get tricked into what a mentor should be. It should be somebody that you work with, or somebody from your church, or your neighbor. I mean, what is it that kind of would make a good mentor? Obviously, it could be somebody you work with. It could be, I don't know if I'd have any of my friends mentor me because they're quite wacky, but kind of where do you go to look for a mentor, or what are some things that you see as you're starting to say, I really maybe need a mentor?
I think there are going to be like two different facets, which I kind of talked about when I was on the panel. But
Hmm.
like, there's an official mentorship and then there's going to be like an unofficial mentorship. For me, I know my like time to shine is in sort of like I received the best through unofficial mentorships.
Okay.
And it really is just putting yourself out there and creating an environment where you can explore your strengths. So I actually was just talking about this earlier today at work. We're all essentially like I was telling someone like another leader. Um, as leaders, we oftentimes forget that we're all just essentially like fifth graders, like walking around. We know what we're doing, but we don't, and we can get caught up in that. And so really mentorship is being able to embrace that feeling of like uncertainty. So think about you're about to go into middle school, like everyone can really remember that transition, like being like or maybe you can't, but like
Ugh,
being a teacher, I see it firsthand.
I blacked out middle
So and if you
school.
have kids, right, yeah, but like it's mentorship is really good for when you want to challenge yourself and you want to grow. Or even if you aren't able to recognize that, if you feel stuck,
Hmm.
like you feel like maybe you're putting everything out there, things feel unfair. You don't know why you're not getting ahead. You don't know why you're not accomplishing your goals. Like that's another really good indicator that you need mentorship. And my personal standpoint, like you talked about having like kooky friends, like there are some things that, like mentorship wise, I'm not going to my best friend and being like, hey, how would you handle this? It's going to be way too technical and we have two like very different backgrounds. But there
Uh-huh.
are other things that like you choose different people to help you in different aspects. So if you know someone who's really, really good with people and you're having a people problem, you can go to that person and you can say, hey, this is happening. Even if it is a best friend and you're like, this is happening, this is how I'm handling it, how am I doing? Like, it is not going the way I want it to. Like, be honest with me. Do you see anything else? And it can also be a spouse, but those are like tiny, like micro mentorships. It really is like wanting to grow, wanting to challenge yourself, and wanting to accomplish your goals. And like, that's when you're like, hey, mentorship is me. And you look for people who display those traits that you're looking to grow, or you look to people that you admire. And kind of like you said, you were like, hey, like, I've been here, like, I don't need mentorship. Everyone kind of feels that way because, again, I think we lose sight that we're all just fifth graders.
Yeah.
And so we don't want to ask for help. But I think the biggest foundation of anything is asking for help and viewing every individual that you interact with as like they have something to give you, whether it's even they're a challenge, like they have something to give you and you can receive something from them. And it's about having that mindset mentality.
I love that. You talked about playing to your strengths. So if you've done strength finders, like I have a couple of that come to mind. And one of my top ones, shouldn't surprise anybody that's done strength finders and listens to my podcast, is woo. Like woo. Like I am a natural born salesperson. And it's hilarious because I always tell people I work in sales and my husband's like, you work in HR. And I'm like, what do you think HR is? It's all sales. I have to sell people on the company. I have to sell people on the benefits. I have to sell people that they have to get along with their coworkers. I mean, it's constant sales. And he was like, oh, yeah, I never really thought of it that way. Sound like the internal marketer. So I really wanted to find somebody that would help me establish and really kick off that woo piece because I launched my company and I'm thinking, okay, I don't think I'm a salesperson for my own self. I'm selling myself short. Haha, no pun intended. But I really started working with a mentor that was like, okay, let's talk about why you feel like you can't sell stuff. And some of those questions, those thought provoking questions, really came from someone that I met in a networking group and I didn't know her. She didn't know me. She did a presentation. I went up to her. I said, "You have the best sales personality. Like, it's not intrusive. It's very compassionate. And can, would you mentor me, like, kind of on the sales aspect of things?" And she was like, "Absolutely." So we meet probably a couple of times a month and we just talk about things that I've done and my uncomfortableness, or where I really feel like I am selling myself short, or that kind of stuff. And it has really kind of been very eye opening, um, to me, because I really feel like I know a lot about HR, but not enough about sales to manage my own company to sell my product. So again, I needed an area to grow. I know it's on one of my top strengths, but how do I cultivate that and how do I grow that outside of just knowing that I can sell ice to Eskimos without trying?
Yeah.
So I think that's there, there's other things in there. If you haven't done the Strength Finders, like, go buy the book. It's on Amazon.com. I think you can get a paper copy for like $10. You can also do it online, and it's a short, what do you think? 20 minutes, 30 minutes worth of answering some questions. And you get some great results. And it really kind of tells you what your top 5 are. And if you haven't done it in a while, go back and do it. I did it 10 years ago, and then I did it probably about 4 or 5 years ago. And I didn't have adaptability in one of my top strengths, and now it's one of my top 5. So what does that tell me? A lot has changed in the last 10 years where I've had to become more adaptable. So I also think that is really eye-opening. Um, Tell me about your first mentor. When did you realize that you needed a mentor, and who'd you reach out to?
So I think I've always just kind of had this personality. My mom always kind of is like independent to a fault, things like that. But I have always like looked up to your, like, we're talking like older people. So like thinking like traditionally,
Yeah.
I, at every aspect. And if I saw someone doing something that I liked, I like, even in middle school and in high school, I'd be like, how do you do that? Well, why do you do it this way? Like, I'm just very naturally inquisitive. And so like there was lots of like mentorship like that. And then I feel like, and there's a like a kind of a joke that English teachers are, they're just like, they're there to cultivate people. Like everyone has that one really awesome English teacher. I don't, some of my former students who have now graduated, they'll be like, they'll send me like a meme and they're like, Miss Dickerson, this reminds me of you. And I'm like, okay, that's great. But like, I think my English teachers really helped mentor me. I had one English teacher that really challenged me. I was like, I remember writing in my, like, we had to journal. I was in the 10th grade, and I was like, I don't know, like, I think maybe I talk too much. Like, I think maybe I'd want to be a therapist, like yada yada yada, just talking like nonsense, just journaling. And she normally didn't like respond to what you were writing. She just checked it, but she wrote on there and she was like, yeah, I could see that, but I really just think you're insecure. And I was like, what?
Oh.
Like, I was like, oh my gosh, what? Like, I'm like 15 years old, and I'm like, my teacher just called me insecure.
Okay, now wait, isn't every 15-year-old child insecure in some form?
I know, but when you're 15, you're
And
like,
when your
absolutely
teacher
not.
writes it.
Yeah. And I was like blown away. And then I really remember like thinking about it and being like, well, she's not wrong, but I'm not going to tell anyone that. And then I remember even other things um, that she taught and that she did. They were very challenging, and they were things that like no one had ever thought really to tell me.
Hmm.
And I was like, people were like, she's so mean. And I was like, but is she wrong? Like, at the end of the day. And so like that to me was my like first kind of mentorship. And looking back now, I can just see like how impactful the things that she said, they were they were true. And she didn't say them like rudely, but
Yeah.
like how that helped shape me and to like know where I was going. And then in the like tech industry, tech place, uh, like transitioning from all these different careers and kind of like interests, um, um I saw a mentor as like anyone.
Yeah.
Uh Partnering with developers. Like I wasn't a developer, but I would like partner with developers and I'm like, hey, like how do you figure this out? This out? How do you write this code? Like, where do you learn that from? And kind of asking them, like, hey, we work together on an everyday basis. Like, what do I do really well? And like, what do I do that you see maybe hinders the team? And
Yeah.
tell me. And I mean, everyone thinks it's a bit at first. They're like, she's gonna get mad. Like, this is crap. And I'm like, no, I'm like genuinely curious. Like, I don't think you're gonna make me like the worst case scenario. Like, I feel like I'm a 15-year-old who got called insecure by her English teacher. And what? Get over it? So,
Yeah.
like that's like my experiences with kind of like starting mentorship. It's
Mhm.
very unofficial and like subliminal.
Yeah. I like that. I also think, I mean, you took this two-prong approach when you're like, it could be a formalized program because there are companies out there that have some sort of formalized mentorship program. I worked for a company that had a very robust mentorship program, and it was senior women leaders mentoring brand new women leaders that had just been promoted into a leadership role. And I was actually mentored by a senior vice president. She was in marketing and I was in HR, and she was my mentor. And I got a lot out of her because she was very enthusiastic about different things and she just kind of saw things in a different light. When a lot of times you get stuck in a box and you're like, okay, I'm this is boring. I'm not seeing a way around this. Maybe if her name was Nikki, I'm like, maybe if I call it Nikki, she can kind of help me think around how I can explain this to somebody. And she was actually really, really good about that. So I think it's one of those things, and it was formalized. And we had meetings. We met once a week, and we took notes, and we turned the notes in. And I don't know what they did with the notes, but we turned the notes in to the people that ran the program, and so it was a true formalized program. And guess what? I got stuff out of it just because it was formalized. I still got stuff out of it versus an informal one, like what I started with Amy, my former manager, who really kind of became more of my, I just need to pick your brain on this kind of thing. So I can see it both ways. And I think it's really kind of what you want to get out of it. So if you're wanting to get a mentor, I think there are some questions that you really need to ask yourself. What do I want out of this relationship? Who do I see that can help me get to what the next level is? And how often or how frequently am I maybe willing to meet with this person? Because I think there's got to be some sort of cadence, right?
Yes, there should be. Uh, and I feel like in any sort of mentorship, like there is, like I said, like micro mentorships, but those are really just like impactful moments of feedback and brainstorming. They're really not like a mentorship. And I to kind of like continue on with what you're saying about mentorship, it also depends on your personality.
Yeah.
And so, like, what kind of personality do you have? Like, are you someone who's really good at relationship building and it comes really naturally to you? And you could just be like, hey, you're kind of building it um, naturally. Or are you someone who struggles with things like that? Like, then a formalized mentorship where it's like a program you apply to, things like that, that might be the best for you. Like it can also, like you said, what you get out of it. Um, if you're looking for something very specific, you have very specific goals in mind. And let's say you don't even know where to begin with mentorship, like the possibilities of it being very informalized is very cumbersome, then that's another great opportunity to utilize like formal mentorship programs. Like OK Wit has a mentorship program. Also, like you said, there are companies and organizations who do mentorship. And it's
Mhm.
when you're also thinking about like, hey, this is what I'm looking for in someone. Whereas like, I feel like a lot of people like in the church, kind of like you mentioned, like you have a church mentor, like people mentor you in the church, like that's a thing. And you maybe see it on TV where people have mentors within like their jobs, other things like that, or they had these connections. You can get really caught up on the like, who do I go to for this? Because you don't have the correct resources or access to the people that need to mentor you, which is another really strong indicator that
Mm-hmm.
you need a more formalized approach.
Mm-hmm.
And with the formalized approach, that can also be helpful for people who are just beginning their journey, or maybe don't have a lot of time on their hand to really like cultivate that program and that path themselves. They just need to show up. And
Yeah,
so like with more formalized mentorship, you're really just kind of focusing on showing up, and then like the ask, the time commitment, the, like you said, you took notes, you turned in the notes. So like there is like trackability and accountability there. All of that stuff is kind of like lined out. So if you're on a crunch for time, or you're in a season of life where like you're like, I just need to do this thing, I know I need to do this, I need to get feedback, a formalized mentorship would be perfect for you.
absolutely. I was just sitting here thinking, I have 3 mentees that I mentor. One of them is very, very casual. We meet, we call it Mentor Monday. And so we meet for 10 minutes on Mentor Monday, and she has 2 questions. And I make her bring 2 questions because she works, ironically, she works in the tech industry, and she never has time for me. But she is a manager and she's trying to figure out how to lead her team. And so without hiring me as a coach, what a cheapskate. No, I'm just kidding. Um, without, she's like, I'll hire you for a coach later, but I want my company to pay for it, but I got to show them the benefits. So we've kind of been working through that. But our 10-minute Monday mentorship is basically 2 questions that she needs some, really guidance on. And they're very specific, and we set a timer, and that's all the time we have, which is perfect. And then my other 2 are a lot more formalized. I have a young. She's about to graduate from college in May. She is in HR, and she needed somebody. She didn't want to say, I need an older person. She said, I needed somebody with more seasoned experience and wanted me to be her mentor. And I said, sure. So we meet twice a month. And she sends me questions. She sends me the struggles that she's had. There's actual form I actually created. I'm happy to like put it in the show notes so that people, if they want to download the form and use it, they can. But she likes it very formalized. So again, there is a cadence though, and I can always anticipate what it is. And then this last one just came to me. She's kind of been in HR about 10 years, and she is really looking at kind of pivoting and doing something more in a training and development role. And so I've been working with her on how to do that. So it's just really interesting, the people that have asked me to be mentors for them, and then having been a mentee myself, kind of what did I want out of the relationship? And so some of those questions that before I became a mentor, I asked my mentees, what do you hope to get out of this? Because if I don't, you just said it, if I don't have the skill set that you're needing, this is going to be a waste of both of our times. So, and I have enough resources that I could probably give you to somebody else that you would get a lot more beneficial information out of. So I think that it's a two-way street. And I think networking and finding the right people to be mentors, because it's not for everybody, is going to be beneficial or key, actually.
No, spot on. I think just like you said, it's each mentee, obviously like their personality is going into play, and the amount of time, like you mentioned, also like that goes to show just how important it is to know yourself and know what you have capacity for,
Mm-hmm.
and like the resources. So like before you begin any mentorship, you should be evaluating yourself. And that doesn't mean you have to be super introspective and be like, these are the things that I need to grow on. Like you might not be really great at self-reflecting and like
Mm-hmm.
figuring things out. And it could just be like, I'm not, like I said, I'm not accomplishing the goals that I have for myself. Obviously, like something's up. I need someone to help coach me. Or I want to be a like CEO one day. Like, how do I like move up the chain? Like it could be very, very basic. And it's about like really catering to what your goals and your needs and wants are.
Absolutely. That's great. Great advice. So know yourself before you start this journey. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to shift gears because I want to talk about feedback. And so, feedback also, and how these two tie into each other is crucial, right? Because you're asking somebody to give you some feedback. I used to have a boss that told me, hey, feedback is always a gift, good or bad. And I'm like, where's the return policy? So,
I
like,
like
I don't want the feedback. So, um, knowing yourself is important. How you receive information is also going to be important. So, talk to me about the benefits of feedback, not only in a mentorship relationship, but in your growth as a professional or as a, just a person in general.
so I love feedback. Uh, I
I'm going to
mean,
get you a button that says, I love feedback.
I everybody, like my employees at work, they all laugh. They were like, "We know you're really good with feedback," and I'm like, "Yeah." Like they'll be like, "I'll have an idea," and they'll be like, "I really don't like this," and I'm like, "That's all right. Let's give it a go, though. See what happens." And they're like, "That didn't hurt your feelings." I'm like, "Why would it hurt my feelings? It's just feedback." And that's something that even in like when I was promoted to my current role, uh they told me, they were like, "We don't know if anyone really accepts feedback like you do and how like objective you can be with it." And I was like, "Cool, I guess." But I feel like this is a skill everyone should have.
It's your superpower.
Yeah, my partner, don't worry, my partner is very empathetic and he keeps me uh constantly learning like, hey, be more empathetic in your approach. But I am very caring, so even when you're giving feedback, it's two ways. Obviously, there's, are you giving feedback, or are you receiving feedback?
Mm-hmm.
And is it solicited or unsolicited? Because there's still things you can learn from unsolicited feedback. I call it like the sand shifter or sifter method, I should say. So, like, like pretend you're at the beach, you're searching for seashells, you're dumping lots of sand, and you're looking for that beautiful thing, a pearl, a seashell, whatever. And that's how feedback is sometimes. Like
Okay.
you're getting a lot of it, you're getting a lot of it, and it's just coming in, coming in, coming in, but you need to sift through it. Like if someone's calling you names, it's really, this is where I think that biblical counseling kind of like component comes in, because I'm just fascinated with how people's mind works. So like you're going to be defensive. Everyone, for the record, everyone is uncomfortable when they receive feedback.
Mm-hmm.
I am uncomfortable when I receive feedback. I'm not like, wow, this is great, I love it. I'm like, yeah, this kind of sucks. This is awkward, but I acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And so receiving that feedback, you're sifting through it and you're finding out what's true, where it's coming from, and you can like really just dig in deep, and you can be like, hey, like the person giving the feedback, like this is also coming from their perception and their experiences, and so the way they view it is going to be different even than the way someone else views it. So it's about sifting through it and finding out what's true. And that's even when someone's like, if someone's like really attacking you, or like, let's say, attacking your character at work, or you're just not getting along with someone, and they're some of you might know what I'm talking about. They
Yeah.
constant unsolicited feedback. Think about why. Like it could be that maybe you did something to them and now they want to point out every time that you do something wrong or that you don't do it your best. And that can still help you grow, but it also helps you grow in another way, because you're learning how to like see someone and see what their motivations and their core, like their core motivator for even giving you feedback. And you can choose to rectify it, because it's like, hey, like you're like, hey, you can give feedback to their feedback. It's
Yeah.
great. But
It's like
like,
that 15, they're that 15-year-old insecure middle school or high school or whatever age that is. Yeah. You know,
yeah,
you bring up this point that I think is really, really kind of cool when you're talking about sifting through it, right? And you even, this is really kind of cool because this kind of talks about what you're saying. You even talked about different things that people are sifting through in the sand, right? So maybe you're looking for a shell and I'm looking for a diamond engagement ring. Maybe
exactly.
you're looking for a rare and unique coin and I'm looking for a quarter for the vending machine. So I think like even there,
Yeah.
you just brought this whole thing into perspective, right? I could be sifting through this feedback looking for something different than from you. Also, my beach could be different from your beach, even though we're on the same beach. We could be having we could be in the exact same location. We could be sitting on the exact same color of lawn chair. We could be looking out at the ocean, but you're experiencing it completely different from how I'm experiencing it. I'm like, I'm stressed and all I want to do is relax. And those stupid children in front of me digging a sandcastle and screaming are bugging the crap out of me. And you're relaxed and you're like, the sound of the waves and the seagulls and the children laughing is like amazing. So I think your perspective on shifting sand on feedback is really great. I love that. And I'd never really thought of that. So if you are on the receiving end, go to your beach happy place and realize that what they're looking for in the sifting sand is completely different from what you're. That's great. I love that, Thompson. I'll just bring it all back into perspective here.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that you like it. Like I said, feedback is really important to me. And being a teacher, I wanted a way that was like easy to explain. And I was like, I kept doing this with my hands when I was trying to tell someone about feedback. I was like, you just gotta sort through it. And I was like, what am I doing with my hands? And I was like, oh my God, I'm sifting.
Oh yeah.
I was like, wow, my body knew before I did.
And meanwhile, your
So
kids are like, what is she doing? It's like some new dance.
yeah.
That's really great. And I like you can explain that very easily. So when I'm doing leadership or management training workshops, I can definitely use this as an example for my managers when I'm like, okay, let's think about feedback. Go to a beach. You can even actually have them describe the beach to you, right? And you're going to get a perspective from every person that you ask to describe the beach to you. So I think that holds true with feedback. I worked in the banking industry for about 10 years and we used to do robbery training. No, we didn't teach people how to rob a bank, but we taught people what to do in the event that they were robbed. And so we would bring in someone and they would be dressed and, dressed in a overcoat or whatever. And then we would actually do a mock robbery. And what we would do is the robber would exit the building and then we would ask for feedback. What was the robber wearing? What was the robber carrying? Did the robber have a hat on? And it was just really interesting because same experience, like same situation, but everyone had provided different feedback. So I think that's another way to look at it is it's just going to be one of those things. And I think when you go into it, people's guards always go up. I'm super defensive when somebody gives me feedback, whether it be my boss, my husband, my kids, my, dentist. We're going to keep a watch on your eye tooth right there. And I'm like, why? What's wrong? Am I not flossing enough? I just think we tend to get super defensive. I mean, why do you think that is? Is that just human nature or is it
One,
something that people are like, don't tell me, I don't want to know this about myself?
so I think like it's 100% human nature. Like it really is. So think about it as in terms of like self-preservation. So if someone's telling you something that goes against yourself and just like how society works, rejection, abandonment, we cultivate this ideology that like what you do is tied to how good you are,
Mm,
which I'm horrible at that. I'm like, everything I do needs to be good. So then when someone points out something that you did that wasn't good, you're so defensive to not accept it because it makes you question that core like belief you have. And so
yeah.
the best thing you can do, like, because it is human nature, you're going to be defensive, is to know that you're going to be defensive. Don't everyone, this is the like biggest thing with feedback. And people are like, I'm good at accepting feedback. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're probably the most defensive person ever. Like, lots of people say they're good at accepting feedback. And I'm like, does that just mean that you can just like stand there and you can get the words? Like, but it's not really about accepting feedback. Like, truly accepting feedback means taking it and working through it. And so like, I did like a whole presentation, like talk about accepting feedback. And some of my like tips and tricks were like, know yourself, know how you accept feedback, and know how you're going to react. So
Mm.
like, you need to know and recognize, because some people like me, if someone's like, I have feedback for you, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I'm someone who I can be prepared for kind of like anything. So I'm like, all right, hit me with it. Like, is it good for you now? Or like, do you need to be in a more comfortable place to even give me the feedback?
Yeah.
But other people, like, if you want to give them feedback, like, you have to be mindful, like, hey, they're gonna cry. Like, you also need to be mindful. If someone's like coming to you and is like, hey, I have some feedback I want to work through with you, you need to know where you are mentally. How do you
Mm-hmm.
accept feedback? Are you someone who cries? Like, that's not to be like belittling. Like, do you cry? You need to acknowledge that, because you also need to prepare the other person and prepare yourself. And just know that it is the human experience to be uncomfortable and to be defensive. So what you're going to do is you're going to acknowledge it and accept it.
Yeah.
You're going to be like, I am uncomfortable. This is awkward. I don't like this. God, this is cringe, as some of my like Gen Z employees have told me, like, this is cringe. I'm like, okay. But you're going to just allow it
Yeah.
and acknowledge it. You'd be surprised, but it makes a hell of a lot better when you're like, oh my God, this is the worst experience I've ever had. You're like, you're like, oh, okay, it isn't fun.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to fight it, it like helps lower your defenses. And so then after you do that, you acknowledge it, you can actually hear what they have to say. And so a lot of the times when you're getting feedback, for the most part, it's not the time or place for you to try to prove a point, try to prove them wrong, anything like that. The best way to accept feedback, even if what they're saying is wrong, is take it all in. Take it in, feel uncomfortable, sit with the uncomfortability, sit with it, work through it. Okay. And let's say, like, really the feedback was from a place of, like, let's say your boss's boss is giving you feedback and it is like, this is completely inaccurate. You're not going to argue with your boss's boss in that moment.
Right.
You're going to accept, and then you're going to regroup, work through it, and you can handle it from then.
Mm-hmm.
Like, after work through those steps, you can go to your boss's boss and you can be like, hey, listen, set with the feedback you gave me. I really thought about it. I do think I learned some things from this. And you don't phrase it as even like, my boss was completely wrong. It's like, I feel like there was some just like misalignment and miscommunication. I've already spoken to my boss to try to, like, help clear these things up. But like, this is what I've learned, and like, this is kind of how it went down. You don't even, when you try to defend yourself in situations like that, like, I don't know, you're the HR
Yeah.
master, but like, you dig yourself into deeper holes. That
Mm-hmm.
is,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm like, I feel like you need to give the HR advice there, but I'm like,
Yeah.
this is what I've learned.
No, I think that's a good point, Thompson. As an HR person and as a human being that gets feedback, and believe it
Yeah.
or not, I get feedback from all the employees. I don't get feedback just from my boss or my boss's boss. I get feedback from everybody. And I think people forget about that as HR people. They're like, yeah, I have to listen to people either be upset about the break room refrigerator not working to the benefit costs going up, right? So I get a lot I get a lot of feedback. And it is human nature, and even with me who gets feedback on the regular, um, it is very hard to not be defensive. I immediately get defensive. And I have to like almost feel it. It's like a physical response. And then I have to do exactly what you said. I have to sit in it and I have to be like, okay, what should I take from this? And how should I apply it? Or how should I fix it? Or how should I like either change or adapt? Right. If it's none of the above and it doesn't really, people are mad about the benefit cost and I can't change that, then I have to be empathetic because, hey, guess what? I have to pay the same benefit cost y'all do. So I totally understand where you're coming from 100%. And inflation sucks and everything that goes into that. But if I immediately go on the defense and I'm like, well, we have to do that, blah, blah, blah. All I'm doing is perpetuating the feedback and making it worse for both of us. Because the person
Yeah.
that's giving me the feedback is probably not very comfortable. I don't know, maybe they are super comfortable about yelling at me for something. But I'm just gonna make it worse for them. And I'm definitely gonna make it worse for me. And you cannot come up. This is my therapist telling me this. Yes, I did see a therapist. Aside from being a mentor, and I see all kinds of
Oh,
people.
me too.
Um,
Like,
my therapist would tell me if you're in a fight or flight mode, because ultimately, if you're going into corrective feedback or feedback of any type, that tends to put you in a fight or flight mode. And if you go into a fight or flight mode, you cannot function. You can't, your brain will not give you a good thought. And all you're going to do is make it worse. Now, I'm not saying that gives somebody the right to like chew your ass and tell you that you're stupid or that you don't know what you're thinking. That is not, that is a personal attack. What Thompson is saying, what I'm saying is just really kind of try to see where they're coming from, try to understand their beach experience is different from your beach experience right now. And if you're trying to tell somebody that the sky is purple and they are adamant that the sky is chocolate brown and they have reasons, then it's always good to listen to why they think the sky is chocolate brown. And maybe they convince you. I don't know. But I also really, when I train my managers, I'm like, giving I don't want to say corrective feedback, giving any, sometimes even good feedback's hard to give. Giving any type of feedback is going to be uncomfortable, and if it's not uncomfortable, then you probably don't have a soul. um,
or
Go
you're
back and
not
check
doing
your soul. Do what?
it, or you're not doing it right. You're
Yes, yes. You're like, I got this down pat. I can tell people that they suck at their job and I can go to sleep at night. I would probably say 99% of the managers I've worked with, or my coaching clients that I've worked with, or even training that I've done, generally when it comes down, and I do a feedback workshop, I do a whole thing on corrective feedback, providing corrective feedback and performance appraisals, because everyone hates those too. So we spent a lot of time kind of talking about what you want to what you hope to accomplish with feedback, and your delivery. Because I could say, Thompson, your glasses are really, really ugly. And you'd be like, okay. Thompson, your glasses are so dang ugly. I don't know how you wear them, right? So it's going to be in your delivery as well. And they're not. Thompson has really cute glasses on, by the way. I really like them. In fact, I have a matching pair that are red. So I'll put them on so I can help. But I think when you go into that, into a feedback session, whether you're on the receiving end or the giving end, I think it's important to identify that that's going to be a natural reaction and be okay with it.
Yeah, because that helps like really kind of stabilize you. If you know it's going to be uncomfortable and you can like master the like logical component of like your emotions. So emotional intelligence, literally just like within yourself, and know like this is uncomfortable. I don't like this. You've already de-escalated the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing, when you receive feedback, the whole point of sifting through it is to see if it's just trash, because sometimes it might just be trash. So like you said, someone doing a personal attack, like I've had someone like really just go to town, and they were just upset with me. And they were saying things like, instead of giving me real feedback, they were insulting my character. They were doing all these things. And I was like, okay, well, I just don't feel like that's true.
Yeah.
But I was able to take it. And I'm like, we're talking name calling, things like that. And I'm like, what I've done is I've made this person feel insecure.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even like, oh, hey, Thompson's so great, she makes people feel insecure. No, my actions, in an attempt to like make myself feel confident and like feeling out of place, I came across very condescending because I was feeling insecure. So the English teacher from my sophomore year was right. We all have insecurities. And
Absolutely.
that's also like a very important part of feedback, is acknowledging what you're insecure about, because that's going to be your biggest triggers. I was feeling insecure. I'm trying to make up for my insecurities. I upset them and I made them feel insecure because of what I was saying. It was like I said, coming across very condescending. And
Mm-hmm.
if I were to have read their like message they sent me with their feedback and had been like, oh my God, what? Like, this isn't right, I would have responded like that. And
Right.
instead, I would be like, thank you for sharing this with me. I'm thankful that you feel comfortable to, share this feedback with me. I will sit through it and hopefully I can make some improvements.
I love
And
that.
guess
In
what?
fact, I love that. I think that's, as we start to wrap this up, I think that's a great place to leave it, right? I think it's one of those things.
Yeah,
Thank you for providing me the feedback. I appreciate you taking the time to share your insight with me. Whoa, that's going to like take their guard down. They're going to be like, whoa, okay. Oh
yeah,
my gosh. She appreciates it. I called her a raging a-hole and she, no, don't do that.
yeah,
But
but thank you so much.
yeah, thank you. I needed that. May I have another? I think that's such a great way to like really kind of wrap it up. It's like, thank you for sharing that with me. I really want to take a little bit of time to digest what we just discussed. And then I would like to circle back, or I hate circle back. I'd like to come back to this and revisit it at a different time where I can give you kind of my insight too. So I think as we just
Yes.
like have the ability to receive that feedback. We're talking about receiving feedback. Maybe we'll have to do another podcast on how to give it, because that would be I'm sure there are ones out there that are like, okay, that's great. How does she give it? But and we'll bring Thompson back and we'll, do kind of a little fun how do you give it, tips and tricks on how to give feedback, since we spent a lot of time talking about on receiving. And then one of the reasons I did that specifically as a mentor, once you're seeking out a mentor, then you want to make sure that you're getting the feedback and not become defensive, because that defeats the purpose, or understand you're going to become defensive, but that defeats the purpose. So
Mentorship is nothing without feedback. And I will say, even if you don't believe like thanking someone, even if you don't want to, like you can thank someone. If it's like in person, you can thank them. And guess what? You can do what I feel like we all did when our mom or dad really like took us off when we were like in high school, and we like are like screaming curse words underneath our breath, like walking away, and your parents never knew, and it's like that little secret where you're just so like frustrated. Again, we're all just fifth graders,
yeah,
okay? So you can do that and you can have your big emotional outbursts by yourself,
yeah,
okay? And it'll get to the point where you'll actually legitimately mean it. Like it's fake it till you make it.
yeah.
So
Love it. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Thompson. This has been really, really insightful. And I know that the listeners probably got a lot out of it, because it's always interesting. People immediately, when you're talking feedback, there's that, oh, crap kind of moment. So,
yeah.
again, I'll leave Thompson's contact information in the show notes. I'll also drop that mentor questions. If you are looking at kind of considering getting a mentor, I'll put that in the show notes. And if you have questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're always happy to get your questions. In fact, it's always fun to get the feedback from my listeners on what they, yes, I read them, by the way. So I appreciate your time. And again, until next time, my fabulous listeners, stay fabulous.